Chosen one. Take a deep breath for a moment. There are memories you try not to revisit. Moments you wish had turned out differently. Seasons that still ache when silence settles in. You've asked yourself quietly, did I ruin everything? Did my past disqualify me? Can God still use someone like me? Hear this clearly, your past still holds value in God's hands. Not because of what you did, but because of what God does with broken things. The enemy wants you to believe your past is a stain. God says it's a testimony waiting to speak. You are not delayed. You are not disqualified. You are not forgotten. You are chosen, and chosen ones are never defined by where they fell, but by how God redeems their fall. Stay with me, because by the end of this message, something heavy is going to lift off your spirit. Chosen one. Have you noticed something strange? You remember everything. Even moments others forgot. Even mistakes others moved on from. That's not weakness. That's spiritual awareness. Chosen ones feel deeply because they are designed deeply. Your past feels heavy because you were called early. You were sensitive before you were protected. You carried responsibility before you had understanding. The enemy attacked you early because he saw your future. What happened wasn't random. What you walked through wasn't meaningless. God never allows deep pain in shallow vessels. Here's the truth religion rarely tells you. God doesn't delete your past. He transforms it. Moses had blood on his hands. David had adultery in his story. Peter denied Jesus publicly. Paul persecuted believers. Yet God said, I will use every chapter. Your past is not proof of failure. It's proof of survival. What broke you taught you compassion. What embarrassed you taught you humility. What wounded you taught you wisdom. You don't just carry scars. You carry credentials. Chosen one. If your past truly had no value, God would have allowed you to forget it. But you haven't. Not because He wants you to suffer, but because He wants to redeem what the enemy tried to bury. Here are the signs, subtle yet powerful, that your past is still alive in God's hands and being prepared for divine use. Notice when the memories come back. Not when you're falling, but when you're growing. Just as you begin to mature. Just as you start healing. Just as you step closer to God. Old moments rise. Old faces appear in dreams. Old emotions knock unexpectedly. This isn't regression. This is resurrection. God never brings up what He doesn't plan to heal fully or use purposefully. You're not being pulled backward. You're being prepared to carry it forward without pain. You don't just empathize, you recognize. When you see people trapped in cycles you escaped, your spirit stirs. Your heart aches. Your prayers deepen. That's not coincidence. God gives assignment where He gave survival. You understand addiction because you know chains. You understand rejection because you lived in isolation. You understand loss because you buried parts of yourself. Your past gave you keys, and keys are meant to unlock doors for others. This is important. You don't justify wrongdoing, but you also don't condemn broken people. You understand how someone falls. You understand how fear speaks louder than wisdom. You understand how pain clouds judgment. That balance only comes from experience refined by grace. Religious people judge from theory. Chosen ones love from experience transformed by God. Your past trained your compassion. There was a season you hid your story. You were afraid of judgment. Afraid of misunderstanding. Afraid of reopening wounds. But now, something is shifting. You feel a gentle pressure to speak. A nudge to write. A push to testify. A burden to share truth without shame. That's because your season of processing is ending. And your season of releasing is beginning. God never allows silence without purpose. But He never allows silence to last forever. You've forgiven yourself. You're no longer drowning in guilt. You've stopped punishing yourself emotionally. But something still feels unfinished. That's because your healing was never meant to end with you. Peace came first. Purpose comes next. Your past isn't calling you back, it's calling you forward. This is a mature sign. You can look back now and say, "That shouldn't have happened. But God still kept me." You see protection in places where destruction was possible. You see mercy in moments that could have ended you. You see divine interruption in chaos. Only someone who has been preserved for purpose can see this. Your past wasn't uncontrolled, it was covered. You read people quickly. You sense motives. You detect manipulation. You notice when something is off. That discernment didn't come from comfort. It came from survival sharpened by wisdom. Your past taught you to see what others miss. And God is now sanctifying that insight for kingdom use. When others romanticize your pain, when they call your trauma character building, when they minimize what it cost you, something in you resists. Why? Because you know the difference between what hurt you and what healed you. This discomfort is healthy. It means you no longer identify with the pain. You identify with the redemption. God doesn't glorify trauma. He glorifies transformation. This shift is prophetic. You no longer ask, "Why did this happen to me?" You ask, "What is this preparing me for?" That question signals readiness. God doesn't reveal purpose to those stuck in pain. He reveals purpose to those willing to steward meaning. You don't want to go back. You don't want to waste what you survived. You don't want your healing to be meaningless. That responsibility is not pressure. It's calling. You've been entrusted with insight others don't have. And heaven expects fruit from entrusted wisdom. You see patterns now. Divine interruptions. Near misses. Unexpected rescues. It's too orchestrated. Too precise. Too purposeful. That's because it was. God was never absent. He was positioning. Chosen one. If your past still speaks, it's because God hasn't finished using it. What once tried to define you is about to deliver others. Your past is not a liability. It's prophetic material. And in the right season, God turns history into healing authority. Stay open. Stay humble. Stay ready. Because what you survived was never meant to stay silent. Chosen one. Your past holds prophetic intelligence. You know things you didn't learn in books. You discern people quickly. You sense danger before it arrives. You recognize false intentions. That wisdom came at a cost. But now it's time for the return on that cost. God says, "I will restore what hurt you, and I will use it to heal others." Your past was training, not trauma alone. Chosen one. If God truly wanted your story earlier, He would have released it earlier. The delay was not denial. The waiting was not punishment. The silence was not abandonment. It was protection. God never rushes what carries weight. Before your story could heal others, it had to stop wounding you. There was a time when speaking about it made your voice tremble, brought tears you couldn't control, reopened emotional doors you weren't strong enough to close. God doesn't use bleeding vessels. He heals them first. Because unhealed truth transfers pain. But healed truth transfers power. The waiting allowed you to tell your story without needing sympathy, validation, or revenge. This is crucial. Early on, your story might have sounded like accusation, carried resentment, sought justice more than mercy. And that's understandable. But God waited until your voice softened, until your tone carried wisdom, until your words reflected grace. Why? Because bitterness can damage listeners, but grace restores them. God waited until you could speak truth without poison. There is a difference between sharing pain and glorifying pain. Early release would have made the trauma the centerpiece. But God wanted redemption to be the focus. He waited until you no longer identified as the victim. You no longer found identity in suffering. You could testify without reliving. Now, when you speak, people see God, not just your wounds. The world does not always understand sacred stories. If God released your story too early, you would have been misunderstood. You would have been judged unfairly. You might have shut down permanently. So God hid you. Not because you were weak, but because you were valuable. Hidden seasons are not wasted seasons. They are shielded seasons. Authority does not come from trauma. It comes from what you allowed God to do with it. God waited until you trusted Him deeply. You no longer needed control. You walked in humility. You obeyed quietly. Now, when you speak, your words carry weight. Not emotion alone, but spiritual authority. People listen differently when healing has matured. Your story isn't for everyone. If released too early, it would have reached the wrong ears. People who wanted gossip, not growth. God waited until the hearts who needed it most were ready to receive it. Divine timing is not about readiness alone. It's about alignment. This one is deep. Before God gives you a platform, He tests whether you'll obey without one. You learn to heal privately, to grow silently, to forgive without recognition, to serve without visibility. Now your story flows from obedience, not ambition. God waited until He knew. Your motive was freedom, not fame. Stories carry consequences. Once spoken, people attach expectations. They project assumptions. They depend on your strength. God waited until you were strong enough to carry others without losing yourself. Not everyone is ready for that weight. But you are now. There's a difference between remembering and understanding. Early on you remembered. Now you understand. Memory is raw. Wisdom is refined. God waited until you could interpret your past through His eyes, not your pain. This is gentle, but honest. For a long time, you wanted to move forward without looking back. But God waited until you could face your past without fear, shame, or avoidance. Now you don't run. You stand. And that's when God says, "Now your story is ready." Chosen one. God didn't wait because you were unworthy. He waited because your story was precious. He didn't delay because you failed. He delayed because He was preparing a moment worthy of the message. And now, the waiting is ending. What was hidden is becoming helpful. What was painful is becoming powerful. What was silent is becoming prophetic. Speak when He says speak. Share when He says share. And trust, your story is arriving exactly on time. Here's something prophetic. The enemy knows that when you fully accept your past, you become dangerous. Because shame silences. But healed truth sets captives free. Your past exposes his lies. Your healing exposes his defeat. That's why he keeps whispering. Don't talk about it. You'll be judged. It's better buried. But God says, what I healed I will use. Chosen one. There are things you thought were gone forever. Time, opportunities, confidence, identity. But God is a redeemer, not a recycler. He restores meaning, not moments. What you lost prepared you for what you're about to carry. Nothing was wasted. Chosen one. Before you move forward, I want you to still your spirit. Let the noise fade. Let the accusations quiet. Let the memories loosen their grip. This declaration is not motivational. It is prophetic. And if your spirit agrees with it, something will shift. Receive this, not as words, but as truth. What once accused you will now announce you. The voice that tried to shame you has lost its authority. Your history no longer defines your identity. It now confirms God's mercy. Where you were once misunderstood, you will now be recognized. God does not entrust influence to untouched people. He entrusts it to refined ones. Where you were tested emotionally, you will be trusted spiritually. Where you once collapsed, you will now carry others. Your broken places have become bridges, not barriers. Not arrogance. Not pride. But quiet confidence. The kind that comes from knowing God already saw your worst and still chose you. You will no longer shrink when your past is mentioned. You will stand with peace. Because God has removed the sting. You were silenced by fear, muted by regret, hesitant because of judgment. But now, God is restoring clarity, authority, and courage to your voice. When you speak, people will hear truth, not defensiveness. You will speak with wisdom, not wounds. Your testimony will no longer reopen pain. It will release hope. Where others see your scars, they will see possibility. Your story will find the right ears, at the right time, for the right purpose. No word will be wasted. You are no longer the mistake, the failure, the lost one, the broken one. You are the healed, the trusted, the restored, the chosen. Your past may explain you, but it no longer names you. Nothing you endured was random. Every tear trained your discernment. Every loss sharpened your wisdom. Every setback strengthened your endurance. What you survived will now sustain others. Delays are breaking. Doors are aligning. Confidence is rising. You will not miss your moment. God is restoring momentum. Without rushing your soul, you are done hiding. Not because you want attention, but because you no longer fear exposure. God has covered what needed covering, and revealed what brings healing. You are safe now. The enemy tried to bury it. God preserved it. What was meant to silence you will amplify hope through you. Your story carries life. Chosen one. You are not late. You are not disqualified. You are not forgotten. You are healed. You are aligned. You are released. Your past is no longer a prison. It is a key. And God is placing it in your hand to unlock freedom for others. Receive this. Walk in this. Live from this. It is done. Chosen one. Before you leave this moment, pause. Not to look back with regret, but to look back with understanding. What you walked through did not trap you. It trained you. What tried to confine you was actually shaping the key God placed in your hand. Your past is not a prison. It's a key. And now God is teaching you how to use it. You were never meant to stay in the pain. Never meant to camp in the memory. Never meant to define yourself by the struggle. God allowed you to pass through, not move in. The pain had a purpose. The waiting had a reason. The silence had an assignment. And now, the season has shifted. For a long time, you kept it buried. You thought hiding your past would protect you. You thought silence would keep you safe. You thought forgetting was healing. But healing isn't pretending it didn't happen. It's letting God redeem what did. Keys aren't meant to be hidden. They're meant to be used. And God is gently inviting you to stop hiding what He has healed. There are doors ahead of you. That talent alone won't open. Knowledge won't open. Effort won't open. But your story will. Because it carries authority. When you speak from experience refined by grace, people listen differently. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Your past gives you access where theory never could. Hear this carefully. Using the key does not mean reliving the trauma. It means releasing the wisdom. You are not being sent back. You are being sent forward. God never sends you back into what He already healed. He sends you ahead with what you learned. There was a time your past felt heavy, uncontrolled, overwhelming. Now, it rests in God's hands. Not to accuse you, but to serve His purpose. What once tried to own you no longer has authority. God does. You once avoided certain conversations, certain places, certain memories. Now, those locks don't scare you. Because fear doesn't live where healing has settled. You don't tremble when the past is mentioned. You stand. That's growth. That's freedom. That's readiness. God is about to use your obedience to unlock conversations that restore hope, moments that heal shame, encounters that redirect lives. Not loudly, not forcefully, but faithfully. Your presence alone will unlock hearts. You are stepping out of survival mode, out of self-protection, out of silence. You are stepping into purpose, clarity, authority, peace. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to explain everything. You just have to walk forward. Chosen one. Your past is not chasing you. It's serving you. It no longer imprisons you. It positions you. God has turned what hurt you into what heals through you. So lift your head, open your hands, and walk into what God prepared, knowing you carry a key that opens freedom, and you will use it well. Chosen one, before you go, I want to speak to the givers, the ones whose hearts feel called to pour back into the vessel that pours into them. If this message awakened you, if it strengthened you, if it spoke to your spirit in a way only heaven could orchestrate, then I invite you, only if your heart feels led, to sow a $1 seed into this channel. Not because God needs it, but because giving is a spiritual law. A small seed carries big obedience. And God multiplies what is given with pure intention. Your $1 keeps this ministry alive, keeps the messages flowing, and helps this word reach the next chosen one who needs it. If you feel that nudge in your spirit, if you feel that gentle pull, you can plant your $1 seed using the link in the description. And if you can't or don't feel led, you are still loved, still seen, and still covered. Blessings to every giver, and blessings to every listener. Your seed moves heaven in ways you may never see. But God sees it all.